If you're the sort of person whose favourite Beatles album is The Best of the Beatles, ignore this altogether. If you're the sort of person whose favourite Beatles album is Revolver, this is for you. It's Friday the 29th of May. I'm ready for a drink. I reckon you probably are too. So what should you drink in week 22 in Tillfälligt sortiment? I've picked out 5 wines that will make you smile. They'll also make you look quite classy because there's some absolutely extraordinary wines in this week. We're going to start with something. This we're going to start with is just really, really nice. So this is Kloster Eberbach, Baiken, is it Baiken? Baiken Riesling. Baiken's something slightly different. Baiken Riesling 2024. Unusually, I adore these fragrant, elegant, light, lovely Rieslings. And this producer particularly, I used to sell these wines in London, so I know them quite well. This is just so summery. So we're now, it's effectively in a couple of days we go into June, we're going into the height of summer, and what do we want? Elegant, fragrant, light, delicious, lightly floral wines. We have them here, beautiful. Underneath it all, it's got this kind of steeliness to it that gives it a real zip. Graceful, lovely, lemony, lime. It's got real limey zestiness to it. This is the kind of thing I want to go and drink. If you could make an ice cream out of that, I would eat it every day. It's so mouth-watering. I have to keep stopping to swallow. Otherwise, I'd spill all over it. There'd be lots of spittiness. You don't want that. What you want to know is that this is great with Asian food. It's very nice with light summer salads. It's the right sort of thing to go and have as a bit of a wake-up aperitif at the end of the day. Just gorgeous wine, that. Interestingly, I travel the world quite a lot, and we're really fortunate in Sweden that we get a lot of wines like this. Here and indeed in Germany, people drink lots and lots of these wines. Often, other countries just don't get them. I think in America, people just don't get why this is so lovely. And in Britain, people just don't get it. Interestingly, though, if you talk to the greatest wine experts in the world, they will, and you sort of say, well, what do you drink? They will say this kind of thing. That's what they will go and drink because they get that Riesling is this extraordinary grape variety and it has a real sense of place here in the Rheingau and it makes absolutely delicious wines. So how much is this, Joe? He's looking across 229 crowns for fine wine. God, we're spoiled. We really are spoiled with that. Anyway, moving on, not swiftly so much, our bargain of the week. Now I'm looking across here just to make sure I get this right. 179 crowns. And this is SHABO Telti-Kuruk Reserve 2024. SHABO, I don't know why I'm saying it like that, but it sort of feels like the right kind of thing. This is a bargain, but it's kind of a bargain with a backstory. Telti-Kuruk, in fact, it sort of has it written in a rather strange, can you see there? It's written in a rather strange way, is the Turkish word for foxtail. And that's the grape variety that's in this. A lot of grape varieties have these curious names where it means something slightly animally. And it's normally because the bunch of grapes, in this case, when you get these names, it's because the bunch of grapes possibly looks like a fox's tail. It's like how the Pinots are all called Pinot because they are in the shape of a pine cone. And so it means that they're the pine variety. There are a few others. I'm trying to think of some others that have a similar kind of thing. This is from Odessa, though, in Ukraine. And this is more than just a wine that's an interesting wine and it's great value. This is people making wine in the middle of a war. And they have to earn money. So they keep going out and producing interesting, great value wines from rare and unusual grape varieties. So let's have a swirl and a sniff and see what it tastes like. And this is lovely. It's ripe. It's quite generous. There's lovely apple, lightly tropical fruit to it. It's a bit of melon, actually. You get like a yellow melon. Yeah, it is. It's like yellow melon. Lovely fruit, juicy. This is easy drinking, good value, very versatile. I don't think there's any oak in this at all. This is all just about being bright and juicy and easy drinking. It's different. This is not like Sauvignon Blanc, it's not like Chardonnay, it's not like Chenin. It's got a character all of its own. But if you want just a nice, good value, really flexible, easy drinking wine of an evening, this is the sort of thing to go for. And as well as going and drinking a nice, easy drinking, it's a lightly peppery touch. It's interesting, actually. It's like white pepper and almost green pepper. It's interesting, that. If you're wanting just a really nice wine with a piece of fish or a roast chicken or some roasted vegetables or something at the end of the day, that is your bargain of the week. 179 crowns. Fox's tail. So now we all know Telti-Kuruk, apparently it's the Turkish word for fox's tail. And it's partly because actually while we think about, grapes coming from different places, really grapevines, the European grapevine really originated in the Caucasus and modern day Turkey. So Turkey has enormous numbers of essentially varieties of different grapevine that have grown there, and many of them have been completely uncatalogued, but then they've moved to places like Ukraine. Great stuff. Right, I'm going to get rid of that, and then I'm going to move into a really curious, is this a red? Is this a rosé? And it looks rosé, it's actually weirdly kind of red. So this is Glup, Longavi Rosado from Chile, from a place called the valley de Maule, not Maipo, Maule. And Maule is south of Santiago, so it's a bit sort of one of the more southerly regions. It's quite remote. It's a very ancient growing region. I have been there. It was devastated. I'm devastated by a quite famous earthquake. You may remember it in 2010. It was completely devastated. But one of the consequences of that devastation is that people realized that this area that was mostly growing this grape variety Pais, it's a very ancient grape variety. It was the one that was bought by the original European settlers to have communion with. It was all being grown and used very cheaply to make pisco. And then somebody realised that actually these vines were hundreds of years old, and maybe they could make something that was much more interesting. So this is mostly Pais. There's a bit of Garnacha and a bit of Monastrell in it. Now, it's a rosé wine because essentially Pais is a pink grape variety. It's not fully red, but it's equally not fully white. Garnacha and Monastrell are both reds. It's a lovely colour. And what you tend to get here is just something that's really interesting. So you get interesting, quirky wines when you go here. These are all hand-farmed. When I say hand-farmed, hoof-farmed is possibly better because a lot of it's still done on horses. So people sort of they use horses to plough the vineyards. And in fact, they're planted in a way that you couldn't put a tractor through. It's got lovely red fruits, quite ripe red fruits. This is really interesting. Zesty, mouth-watering, strawberries. It's really clean. If you are in any way worried that you've maybe tried Pais in the past and it's been a bit natty, a bit sort of natural and earthy, this is the one to go and give a try. This is clean as a whistle. It's an absolutely tip-top, clean, bright, zingy, zesty, fresh, lovely, eager wine. And you can have it very versatile, lovely barbecue wine with grills. I wouldn't worry too much about food and wine matching. If you're having as grilled steaks and sausages, have this. Interestingly, Chileans eat very large amounts of hot dogs. And you go around Santiago, there's loads of hot dog stalls everywhere. It's very nice with hot dogs. And you get hot dogs with like avocado and things on them. They have really interesting toppings as well. Brilliant. So have this with hot dogs. This is really interesting, versatile wine. You can have it as an aperitif. There isn't much in the way of tannin. Cheers around. No, it's not grippy or anything like that. It's just juicy and mouth-watering and zesty and bright. That Longavi Rosado Gulp is a bit of a cracker, and I like it a lot. And actually, it was when you're drinking it, I always like wines that they kind of give back. Part of this is that you are supporting an interesting community of people who are really, really lovely, who in many ways it's one of the poorer, more rural regions of of Chile, and yet they are custodians of this extraordinary legacy of ancient vines, particularly these old país vines that are now being turned from a real commodity product into something that's much more, it's much more modern and interesting. That's it. Right, we now have two interesting reds, and I'm leaning across here to have a bit of a look at it. Which one should we go with first? I think I'm going to go with this one first. So what do we have here? Riedlin Rot, 2016, and 2015. This is really bizarre. We've now got these two red wines. I'm actually going to bring the second one in because I've also got this one, which is Curral Teles, 2015. I've got these two old, tall, slender bottles. These are both wines in 2015. These are both really old wines. And there's a bit of a theme at the moment in Systembolaget, which is that the buyers are uncovering these old, interesting, fully mature reds. Now, sometimes, like last week, we went and tried a 2016 Chateau Malascas Bordeaux. It's from Bordeaux. They're also uncovering these lovely, fascinating parcels of slightly odd wines. So let's start with this fella. Now, just quickly looking across to make sure I get the right one. So this is 299 crowns for a wine that somebody has spent 11 years aging. It's Spätburgunder from Baden. So Spätburgunder is what Germans call Pinot Noir. I went to a masterclass, actually only a couple of weeks ago, of German Pinot Noir. German Pinot Noir, I mean, it's genuinely the case, used to be disgusting. I don't want to sort of beat around the bush here. It was, there we go. It was appalling. It is now amazing because now Germany has the climate to make really interesting Pinot Noir. And in fact, that change happened during kind of the 20-teens. So this is a wine from this emerging part of global warming, particularly in Baden, which is one of the warmer, more southerly regions, to go and make these interesting, generous wines. Let's have a swirl. Got lovely colour. It's making mature, generous wine. If you like old red Burgundy, unless you are insanely wealthy, you're not going to be able to buy a lot of old red Burgundy, if I'm totally honest. 299 crowns, you can afford this. It's mature, it's got slightly sort of mushroom character, it has old fruits, dry fruits rather than very vibrant, zesty, bright ones. When I say dry fruits, I mean light sort of dried strawberries. It's got this lovely oakiness to it. But like a lot of more mature wines, it's much more about the depth and the lingering sensation that they leave on your palate. That's what makes them so special. 299 crowns for an 11-year-old bottle of really good Pinot Noir from somebody who actually makes really good Pinot Noir, from a region that's emerging in its way of going and making really, really exciting Pinot Noir. It's hard to beat that. I would have this a lot. I would have it with interesting, lighter red meat dishes, I think is the best way. It's not a steak wine. Steak wine would just overwhelm it. You want to go and have something that's got a bit of lightness. Actually, if you're a vegetarian, this kind of stuff's really, really good because it goes really nicely with interesting vegetable dishes. Just a touch of spice in there. There's also a slight smell, and this is the nicest possible way. Don't take me wrong, there's a slight smell of disinfectant. But I suppose it's camphor and mint and that sort of character that just emerges off the top. Oh, that's so good. Now, we've got two of these. And this is the extraordinary thing. It's like buses. You wait for ages and two 11-year-old wines turn up at once. So here we have another wine called Curral Teles, 2015. Vinho Tinto. Now, this is bizarre on a number of levels because it's a Portuguese red in a German wine bottle. So when I first got this, I was like, no, they sent the wrong wine. This is surely some kind of strange white that they've sent us. Absolutely not. So Mateus de Almeida, I think that's his name. So the guy who makes this, his father is a total Portuguese winemaking legend who makes a wine called Varye, which is arguably I mean, there are various contenders, but it's arguably the finest wine in Portugal. And so he makes, his dad has been a legend for making this extraordinary wine that's redefined Portuguese wine for generations. But Mateus has decided to go away and do his own thing. And he wants to make wines that are a bit more human. They're in touch with the earth. They're in touch with a sense of place. This is a Touriga Nacional blend. It's mostly Touriga Nacional. It is, again, a 2015, an 11-year-old bottle of wine. Let's have a quick look at how much it is. It's 230 crowns. 230 crowns for a wine made by this slightly underground hero of Portuguese winemaking who's doing something that's full of soul and heart and passion. Now, when you get into this, some of you are going to love this. I will admit there are some of you who are going to find it mildly challenging. And I am going to say up front, it has this slightly rubbery touch to it, which I adore. So if you like slightly earthy Châteauneuf-du-Pape, is perhaps a good example, or wines like Chateau Moussard, you are going to adore this. You're going to absolutely love it. If you don't like that, if you want something that's absolutely clean as a whistle and just banging fruit, this is not for you. But for those of us on the inside who know, oh yes, it's a slightly sort of rubbery feel to it. Interesting black fruits, spice, savoury, meatiness, chewiness, a real sense of place, a wine to go and have with interesting grills, with people who are looking for something that's interesting and different and curious. And what you're tasting here isn't just wine, you're tasting a guy who's feeling for what the new thing should be, what the next thing should be. This is a sense of probing adventure. This is an adventurous wine more than a wine that's just ticking off the greatest hits. If you're the sort of person whose favourite Beatles album is The Best of the Beatles, ignore this altogether. If you're the sort of person whose favourite Beatles album is Revolver, this is for you. And that's kind of the difference, because with Revolver you've got to listen to some slightly weird stuff, but it's an amazing album. Best of the Beatles, yeah, okay. If you have the best of the Beatles, it's fine. But this is for those who like to stray off the beaten path. Interestingly, this smells like when you've strayed off the beaten path. It has an earthiness to it. 230 crowns for a legend, a modern day curious legend making interesting wines. That is what we've got here. So just to recap, before I go, 230 crowns, interesting stuff. What we got, this was barely any more, 299 crowns, 11 years old. 200-year-old vines. How much is it? 189 crowns to go and drink wine that's on vines that are hundreds of years old. Wine made in a literal war zone by people who are worried about whether or not they're going to get blown up. I mean, Odessa, crikey. And then fine wine that the rest of the world has forgotten is amazing.